Good morning, sir. Okay.
Good morning, welcome.
Yeah.
Today, we are going to start our seminar series, and our guest is Madam Sumita Sen. She is the Regional Training and Implementation Manager for South Asia and Southeast Asia, Middle East and Africa, Online Resources and Journals, Oxford University Press, UK. And today she will discuss on publish in reputed journal with special reference to Oxford publications. And a briefing about her, Regional Training and Implementation Manager for South Asia and Southeast Asia, Middle East and Africa, Online Resources of Journal in Oxford University Press. She has obtained MBA in Human Resource, a certified instructional designer, and a certified MBTI professional, and having more than 18 years of experience in training small and large group across diverse industries. And I have also taken class of her sessions, I think previously 2, 3 times, and it is a very good learning experience from her. And we will learn in this 1 hour session from her. And any questions, please feel free to ask. Thank you, madam. The stage is yours now.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I hope all of you can hear me.
Yes,
Am I
clearly.
audible enough?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you
Yes,
so much.
yes.
Yes, good morning.
So let me just share my screen. Can you see the author workshop screen?
Yes, madam.
Perfect. So good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's session on how to get your work published with Oxford University Press. So what are we going to be doing today? I will begin with an introduction to OUP, the company, and then I will introduce you to our journals platform, and I will share a lot of important information related to journals. I will be telling you certain things that you must know when you are choosing your journal for research or whether you want to get your work published with a journal. I'd request all of you to mute yourselves, please. And if you wish to speak, you can always unmute and talk so that there's no static on the call. We will move on to how you can select the right journal. I've already said that. And then I don't think we'll have time to do the submission process, but I'll quickly run you through it. We will briefly touch upon peer review, what it is, how important it is. We'll talk about what happens after your article has been accepted. What does the production team do? What is open access and how you can promote your article. But since this is a 1 hour session, I'll have to condense it and try and make it as crisp as possible. So let's begin with an introduction to our company. Oxford University Press is a department of the University of Oxford, which is the oldest and largest university in the English-speaking world. And what do? We advance knowledge and learning by creating very high quality educational resources. And we try and make them available to almost every student across the globe. That's our primary mission. And we cover a large subject field. We we have products, we have journals, which all of you know. We have books, we have medicine, we have law, bibliographies, dictionaries, encyclopedias, music, art, you name it, we have it. We pretty much cover everything in the education field. The only areas we're not very strong in is information technology and engineering. But apart from that, everything that a student needs is available. And how do we do this? We do this by partnering with uh, very learned societies, university partner presses across the globe, which you will see in a short while. And while we do all of this, we don't compromise on quality. Whatever you get on an Oxford platform, you can be rest assured it is 100% peer reviewed, rigorously peer reviewed, in fact, and you can safely use it in your research papers. There will be no questions asked if you're citing something from any of our materials. So like I said, we are the oldest and largest company, and this is it. So these are some of the societies we partner with. And these are mostly medical names that I've given you. Now, how do you know that a journal is good or bad? How do you know? Can anyone tell me in the chat box? How do you know that a journal is good or bad? Can you see the Oxford Academic screen? Okay. Well, this is our journals platform. If you click on academic.oup.com, it will bring you to this platform. And on this page, you'll be happy to know that we now also have books. So if you do a quick search from here, you will be able to get content from journals as well as books. So let me just show you one before I move on to the journals platform. So let me start with insomnia, a very common problem. All of us have had it at some stage in our lives. Let's look at insomnia. So you see it shows 25,858 results. And see, this is a book chapter. This is from this book. So if you want, if you want only journal research articles, you'll have to use the filters on the left-hand side. I'm not going to elaborate on this because all of you know how to filter and search. So I'm not going to waste my time on this. I will jump straight to the journals platform. So this is our journals platform, and we have more than 500 journals on this platform. Out of these 500 journals, 1/3 belong to OUP. The remaining 2/3 are published in partnership with other learned societies. So if you want to take a list of all the journals, this is where you need to go, and you'll get all the journals here. Or you could use the search filter here if you're looking for a particular topic and search for it. So let me first start with one journal. Let me start with one journal that I'd like to show you. This is the European Heart Journal. Trying to minimize this. Okay, here. This is the European Heart Journal. It is published in partnership with the European Society of Cardiology. Every journal will have these tabs here. Issues, if you're wanting to go back to an old issue, more content, which will talk about editor's choice, advanced articles. There is the submit tab. Now, some journals will have submit and some journals will have publish, but either or it will be there, which will give you the author guidelines. And then there is about the journal, which will tell you about this journal. It will show you the editorial board and all of that. If you wish to see what the society is all about, there's a hyperlink here. You could just click on it. Now let's just move on to this. When you come here, You see, it gives you the impact factor. Now, it is the impact factor that tells you how good or bad a journal is. Now, let's look at this. How is this calculated? This is 35.8, which is very, very high. And it's also giving you the ranking. So in this subject area, in cardiac and cardiovascular systems, this particular journal ranks 3 out of 143 journals that are published in this subject area. And they could be published under any other publisher. So of all the journals that we have under this subject area, which is 143, we rank third. But what is the impact factor? The impact factor is based on the number of citations. When do you cite an article? You cite an article when you think the information is worthy enough to be used. It is critical for your research. So the impact factor is calculated by a company called Clarivate Analytics. According to them, we rank in the top 10% of at least one subject category. So this is their calculation. And how do they calculate it? The calculation for impact factor is number of times an article was cited divided by number of articles published gives us the impact factor. And this is derived, taking the data of 2 years. So if you want the impact factor of 2023, you will have to take the data of 2021 and 2022. So number of times an article was cited in 2021 and 2022 divided by number of citable articles published in 21-22 will give you the impact factor of 2023. And this is usually done in June, July. That's when the JCR report is launched. So you see, the higher the impact factor, more citations, higher impact factor. The higher the impact factor, the better the journal. If you click on About, while that is opening, let me open up another. When you click on About, it will give you the evolution of the impact factor. So you see, in 2006, it was 7, then it jumped to 8.9, then 9.8. See, there has been a gradual increase, which means this is a steady journal. It is not. Now, why do you need to see the evolution of the impact factor when you choose your journal? You need to be sure that it's a good journal, right? You just can't look at the impact factor and say it's good. Why is this evolution important? Now, let's say I run a journal. It's a useless journal. No one reads it. However, I have a friend, Dr. Amartya Sen, and Nobel Prize winner, and I request him to write an article for my journal, and he obliges. What happens when we write those? When we publish his article, people start citing from his work. When they start citing from his work, what happens to the impact factor? The impact factor goes up. Does that make my journal good? My journal is still bad. It is only that one article that has made a difference in the impact factor. So if you see a jump, say from 14 to 30 suddenly, you will know there is a catch somewhere. It can't jump so quickly because all through the impact factor has been very low and suddenly it has jumped. So this you must check, because one article cannot decide whether a journal is good or bad. Now let's move on to another journal. Now this was a medical journal. Let me show you another journal. Let's take African affairs. Now you see the impact factor is 3. What is your first thing going to be? This is another journal which is published in partnership with the Royal African Society. And you see, in European Heart Journal, we had submit, here we have publish. But more or less, the content is the same. But this impact factor is 3. What does that mean? You're going to say just now, Sumita said that the higher the impact factor, the better the journal. This is only 3. This is not a good journal. Well, let's look at it this way. Which subject do we have maximum research happening? Maximum research happens in subjects like medicine, life sciences, chemistry. This is a social sciences journal. This comes under the subject area of social science. Not many people do research on social sciences, which is why the impact factor is 3. Because not too much research is happening, but you still want to know whether the journal is good or bad. Because it's just 3. And okay, it's a social science journal. A medical journal will always have a high impact factor because there's a lot of research that happens around it. So look here. See, look at the way it has risen. Look at its ranking, which means this is a good journal. First, it was 4 out of 80 journals. Now its ranking is 9 out of 166. And this is a multidisciplinary journal because it comes under social sciences, area studies, and it also comes under political science. Remember, journals which are purely humanities based do not have an impact factor. Clarivate does not generate an impact factor for a purely humanities journal. For example, let's look at French history. Why? Because there is very little research happening around it. There's nothing new to find out about French history. Whatever people have had to find out, they've already found out. So, this is it. Have you understood the impact factor? I'm not able to see the chat. If you have any questions on the impact factor before I move on, should I just check the chat box?
Good morning, madam.
Yes.
Yeah, my name is Debbie, and I thank you very much for the information on the impact factor. As you mentioned earlier, that the higher the impact factor, the better it is for the journal, the article. Can I know, is there any minimum that we should look at, and below that point, we should not consider that article?
No, there is no minimum that you need to look at, but check the evolution of the impact factor and the ranking.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Let's go back to the screen. Now let's take a look at something. Let's do a little search here. Let's say on erratic heartbeat. If you're searching for more than one word, please remember to put it in quotation marks. because if otherwise it will search for erratic separately and heartbeat separately. So make sure if you put it in quotation marks, it will look for it as a phrase. Let's see if we have anything on erratic heartbeat. And we are searching only from the European Heart Journal. We have not changed anything in the, okay. So maybe we put a wrong spelling. This is Google. If you don't put it correctly, it may not find anything. Let's see if it finds something here. Okay, so there's nothing on erratic heartbeat. We could put it as irregular heartbeat. Let's see if we get something from irregular. Irregular heartbeat. Now we've got 5 results. This is a very, now, but it'll always be sorted by relevance. I would always ask you to change this filter to newest first. I'm sure you'd like to look at the newest research. Okay, so we have something only from 2014 onwards. Let's look at this article. This is the article for you. You will get the DOI number. Now, why is the DOI number so important? The DOI stands for Digital Object Identifier. And why is it so important? It's a permanent reference number. It'll never change. But let's say you have a sibling in the family who has to do his research on, say, mortality during the pandemic. 20 years from now, so much has been published in these past 3 years. India is back with COVID. Now again, cases are rising. Yesterday, we had 7,000 new cases, recorded cases. We don't know about the unrecorded ones. So COVID is rising again. Every day, new research, new findings. Is it humanly possible for that child to read everything that was published when he does his research? However, if his professor tells him, when you write your article, refer to these journals. He gives the refer to these articles and he gives them the DOI. It'll be easy for them to pull up the articles and do their research because it's a permanent reference number. The other advantage is that you see journals keep changing publishers. Today something is with Oxford, tomorrow it may be with Wiley. Something that is with Elsevier may come to Oxford. So they keep changing publishers. So the DOI will always help you to pull up a relevant article. Then you can download it as a PDF, all of that you do know. I don't need to explain all of that to you. Now we have something called the split view here. When you come to the split view, you will get the contents of this article here. Then you have figures and tables. So if there are any images, diagrams in subjects like medicine, science, mathematics, etc., you see there will be a lot of diagrams and all. If you need to use any of these in your research, you can just download the slide as a PowerPoint slide. It will come with the citation information and you can safely use it for your research. Because nobody will question you that what is the source of this information. You see, it tells you. This is from this journal, this is the DOI, this is published by Oxford University Press. So you can safely use it in your projects. Let's go back to the screen. Then you have references, all the references that the author must have gone to when he was getting his work published, and related information. Here is where you have the altimetric score. So 2000 people have viewed this article. What does the altimetric score do? This number is a little low. It tells you which parts of it gives you a demographic analysis of the article. So it'll tell you which part of the world people have read it. And who are the kinds of people who are reading it. So Netherlands, doctors and other healthcare professionals. Let's go back. So I've explained three important things about journals: the impact factor, the altimetric score, and the DOI number. And the main thing that you needed to understand about journals is the impact factor, because that's very, very important. Let's go back to our presentation. Now, why do you want to get your work published? There are three reasons why people would like to get their work published. The first is you have found something really interesting and you want it published. You want the world to know. You know, when I was in class 9, I used to go to a boy for tuition. He was studying engineering in Jadavpur University, and his father was a scientist with Bose Institute. Bose Institute is a very renowned research institute in India. And of course, uncle would always be doing something. Much later, I got to know that he was the man who discovered the formula for birth control pills. And those days, there was nothing digitalized. It was all pen and paper. Now, he was just a very learned man. He discovered the formula, but he didn't take a patent for it. Some commercial company took it and started manufacturing those pills. This man got no recognition for his work. So you need to get your work published because you want recognition for your discovery. And the other reason why you would want to get published is it gives you a chance to become a peer reviewer. So this is the overview of the publishing process. I will be sending this presentation to you so that you can go through it. Now, the first step is preparing. How do you prepare? You have to first choose the right journal. And how will you choose the right journal? You will go to About the Journal, understand the aims and scope. If you're talking about knee replacement and you're expecting to get it published in a dentistry journal, obviously they will not take it. Unless that knee replacement has something to do with the teeth. It causes falling of teeth. Just a thought. So you must read the aims and scope. If it doesn't fit in, you don't buy a sofa that doesn't fit into your house, correct? So it's just like that. Types of articles considered. What are the kinds of articles that the journal wants? Where will you get that information? You will get it in author guidelines. If you go to the submit site here, you will find the author guidelines. And this is your Bible before you choose your journal. This is something you will need to know by heart before you select your journal. And every journal has its own author guidelines. You have to decide whether you want it to be a subscription journal or whether you want it to be an open access journal. Speed of publication, you will get that information in the author guidelines. Peer review process, again, the author guidelines will give you all the information. Bibliometrics, you saw the altimetric score that I showed you. You have to check whether which parts of the world people read your work. If you're writing about mosquitoes and malaria, and you see this journal is widely read in Canada, no use because there are no mosquitoes there. You have to find a journal which is widely read in areas where there is malaria. And content innovation. Are they open to accepting new ideas? Now, there is a link here, think, check, submit. When you get this presentation, you can take a look at this. Now, this is a free service. It helps you move to quality journals. Please make sure you don't end up submitting your work to predatory journals. You will lose credibility as a researcher. Not only will your article be rejected, you will also lose credibility as a researcher. What you can do is, I'm just typing this in the chat box, check the Beals list. If you go to Google and type the Beals list, it will give you a list of all the journals that are predatory, that are blacklisted journals. So you will know that, okay, these journals I should not choose. So make sure you check this out. Then how do you prepare your articles? These are the different kinds of research articles that you can write. It could be an original research, you've discovered something new. It could be a letter or a rapid communication or a short report. So what happens is, say you're doing your research and you're just about to submit it and you find that somebody else has submitted the same research already. So you will definitely feel very bad that I worked so hard and my work has gone down the drain. So what you should do is read that article carefully. Now, this person who's written that article, whose work has been published, has 6 points. You probably have 8 points. You have 2 more points. You can add those 2 points. Then you have review articles. That is, of course, in OUP only by invitation. You could have case studies in subjects like anthropology, human behavior, psychology, medicine, law. So people think case studies are limited to medicine and law. No, case studies could be even in social behavior, social sciences. Everywhere there are different case studies. You could think of getting your work published as a case study. You could also think of writing a case study. Methods or methodology, different methodologies, doing the same thing in a different way. That's another way of getting your work published. What I would always advise you is that do not gamble by submitting your paper, your article to more than one journal at a time. Not only will all the journals reject your paper, you will also lose credibility as a researcher. So be very careful. Please submit your journal only to one journal at a time. After they reject it, you can come back and submit it. Write a good title, make it accurate and catchy. MSN News comes up with very good titles. Abstract is a summary of your work. Introduce your topic. Don't talk about more in the introduction. Methods, step by step. Then move on to results. And then finally conclude. What is it that you come to a decision on? Do not keep repeating points because there is a word limit. If there is any acknowledgement, funding, conflict of interest, please read all of these. You will get all this information in the journal's about page and in the author guidelines. Please make sure you put in the references. of whatever you have, you cite those papers. We also do sessions on citations. So if you're interested, please do let us know that how you can how you can include citations in your papers. OUP now accepts colored 3D images and also the braille images for the visually impaired. There is an author processing charge for it, but you can check how that can be done. Most journals will have the latte template available. I will show it to you when we do the author submission process. The latte template is usually it's a format which will automatically read the journal's requirements and submit it for you. I'm sorry, but I'm having to run with this session because I'm condensing a 2-hour session to a 1-hour session. So let's do the article submission process. Let's take the journal Brain. So we have submit, you have the author guidelines. To open the author guidelines. So your author guidelines is actually your Bible. So you remember I told you about latte template. This is what the journal's author guidelines will have. So you see, when you read the author guidelines, it tells you that this is the word limit, this is it. It gives you the peer review information. It'll tell you this is the font, this is the spacing. So when you download a copy of the Word template, it will automatically read these rules for you. So it saves you a lot of time. You don't have to keep going and adjusting. So no, I wanted to do a submission thing. Then you have something called the submission site, which comes under the submit. So you have author guidelines. Below that, you have submission site. Just click on submission site. It'll either ask you to sign in with your ORCID ID, or you could create an account. Now, I don't have a login ID, ORCID ID, so I've just created an account. But you will need an ORCID ID to finally submit your work. So here there are FAQs and user guides. You can download that. Go to the author tab here. Now, whenever you go to the submission site, it will take you to the Scholar One manuscript page. This is also a product by Clarivate. It'll either take you to Scholar One or it will take you to Editorial Manager. So both are Clarivate products. So which is why when I said don't gamble by submitting your work to 5 different journals together, because it goes to the same data bank. And they will read your ORCID ID and they will know that you have submitted it and they will reject that paper completely. All 5 journals will reject it. So one journal at one time. Start a new submission. All of you know how to fill up a form. So here it'll keep asking you questions. I'm just going on moving randomly. If there is a title, abstract, enter, save and continue. It'll just give you an error message if it is incomplete. Then you have, we're asking you to upload your files, images, diagrams. Now we've not done it. It's moving on. What methodology did you use? Choose. Continue. Again, we've not done anything. Now here is where they will ask you to create an ORCID ID or associate your existing ORCID IDs. So what is your ORCID ID? Now in the US, they have something called a social security number. In India, we have something called an Aadhaar card number, which defines who I am. Let's say, for example, there are 10 Jane Smiths in India, 100 Jane Smiths in the US, another 100 in Europe, another 100 in Southeast Asia. Same name, more than 500 people. Anyone can cheat. In this world of cheating, it is so easy for people to say, oh, it's my work. Which is why this is your identification as an author. So if you say my work is published, the dean might ask you, okay, share your ORCID ID with me. Stands for Open Researcher and Contributor ID. So without an ORCID ID, you will not be able to submit your work. Now, we give you the choice to choose your reviewers. You could choose someone from the editorial board. You could choose someone's work you really admire. You could choose any of your professors. However, there is no guarantee that it will go to that person. It may or may not go to that person. But, and remember, the entire process is anonymized. You will not know who is reviewing your work. The reviewer will never know whose work they are reviewing. It's a very, very confidential process. Go to next step. Now, here is where you have to write a good cover letter. You have to sell yourself properly, to market yourself. Remember, you will never get a second chance to make a good first impression. So please make sure you write a good cover letter. So it'll ask you questions. Has it been rejected? Number of words. You just keep filling up, answering those questions and moving on. Now this is the final stage. If I don't complete it, I cannot submit it. But let us assume you have submitted your work. We've submitted our work. And what happens after it has been submitted? It goes for peer review. What is peer review? It's an academic term for quality control. We check whether your research is valid, significant, and original. And in this world of cheating, if there was no peer review, there would be an intellectual war. What does it do? Peer review do? It determines the quality, validity, and significance and originality of your research. It helps in improving the quality of paper, and papers will be rejected immediately if they are out of scope. If they're clearly unsuitable, if there are obvious errors and duplicate submissions. This is how the peer review process works. You submit your work, it goes to the editorial office. The editorial office will give it to an editor. The editor may instantly reject it or choose reviewers. The reviewers will send their report to the editor. The editor will take a decision. He might ask you to revise your work and send it back to us. You have a choice whether you want to revise and resubmit or you want to withdraw your work. or the editor might reject your work after reading the reviewer's comments. But I'm going positive. The editor has accepted your work and sent it to the publisher, which means it comes to us. Now, if your work is rejected, there is no need to be disappointed. All of us face rejection at some point in our life. Read your reviewer's comments. What is it that he's saying? Where did you go wrong? Don't try and, be in a hurry to resubmit your work. Give it some time. Make sure you don't insult reviewers. Don't write any rude comments, even if you disagree. Be polite. If English is not your first language, take help from someone whose language is English. So we're assuming that your work has been accepted. What happens once it is accepted? It comes to the production team. They send you a welcome email, and they will ask you to select a publishing license. We will not proceed until you have selected a publishing license. It's compulsory. After which we will copy edit it, send it for typesetting, and then it will come to you for proof review. This is your time to make any changes that you want, because once it is published, we will not make any changes. You make your corrections, it comes to us, we do the final revisions, and wow, your article is published online. If you want to make your article a little interesting, you can put live links to your ORCID profile so people can read other articles that have been written by you, include video and videos, graphical abstracts, animations, figures, etc., just to make your article interesting. Some journals have this option of publishing an accepted manuscript, which means it's not yet published, but we're telling you that it's an accepted manuscript. So if you look at a journal's page, see if Brain has any. If you go to more content, and if you look at advanced articles, you will find these are accepted manuscripts, which means they will be out in the next release, in the next issue that is released. What am I doing? You can check the article metrics. I've shown you how to check the altimetric score to see how many people are reading your article, which parts of the world. So you can follow that. Then you have open access. Now, what is open access? When you get your work published, when you write a book, how do you expect people to read it? You expect people to read it by buying your book. Similarly, your articles, people have to subscribe to the journal if they want to read it. So, if you want to make your work open to the public, you have to choose an open access program. Now, open access is where you have to pay an author processing fee. There is a charge. You are paying the publisher. However, remember that in Oxford, An open access article also goes through the same process of rigorous peer review. So don't think that because you're paying the publisher, you will write Jack and Jill went up the hill and we will publish it. It'll still go through the rigorous process of peer review. There are different open access models. You have cold, fully open access, hybrid, and green. When you get this presentation, you can read it. You can read the details of all of this. Then we also have read and publish agreements. Now, what is a read and publish agreement? It is an agreement between your institution that they are subscribing to our content and they are also paying the author processing charge with the subscription. So you can also get your work published. How does it work? Your manuscript will come into production, you will sign the open access license and refer the charges to your institution. Your institution will decide whether they are accepting your work or rejecting your work. So you can read this when you get the link on our read and publish deals. Now, how can you promote your article once it has been published? You can add it to your email signature. You can show your paper in conferences. You can put it on LinkedIn. You can share it on Twitter, any social network that you like. But check with your institution's communications team how they can help you promote your work. Any questions?
Yes, madam, there are some question in chat box.
Okay.
I've seen that one is first one, madam, what comes up with good title? I could not get it.
Good title means you must give it a nice, catchy title, an interesting title. You know, it is like the title of the book. When you see, even if you don't, I remember buying a book which said "The Illicit Happiness of Other People." It's written by the author called Manu Joseph, an Indian author. But I bought the book because I liked the title. If the title is interesting, people will want to read the book, right?
Okay. Is it clear, Madam Mohua Kormokar? Okay, next question is, ma'am, how many words should be there in a standard article?
Each journal will have its own rules. That information will be there in the author guidelines. Let's just number of words, what they want, all of that is there in the author guidelines. That information will be available. Each journal, each article will have its own rules.
Okay, and also she's asking that any reference number, that 100 or 200, like that?
No, there is no. Each
Reference
journal will
limit.
tell you. The journal will tell you.
No,
See here, it
actually,
tells you.
she asking for in general, like standard
No,
for
there
any
is no
research.
standard. No,
Okay.
there is no standard. Each journal will have its own rules.
Okay. And thank you for sharing your madam. Is this journal open access included in Scopus? Does this journal accept publication in the field of nursing?
Which
Okay.
journal are you talking about?
Yes. Every journal is different, so you have to check with that journal. Is it a nursing scope or not, or is it indexed in Scopus or not? That is different questions. So you have to check every journal, each.
Yes. If you go to the home page of the journal, about indexing and all of that, you will get the information here.
Okay.
In about, you will get all the information.
Madam, I also have one question about the licensing, that copyright transfer. So how it works for open access? Sometimes CC by NC, CC by NCND, I cannot understand properly.
Well, even I am not very well versed with that. So see, this journal is a member of this. So the different licensing policies are given here. If you go to our journals page, I'll just show you. If you go to our journals page, in the author section, you go to the author section, you will get all the information here. Can I send you the link on an email?
Yes, madam.
I'll send it to you on an email. The licensing links, I'll send it to you on it. And I'll send you the presentation so that you can upload it on the library platform.
Another question also come, ma'am, what is COPE? COPE is ethical guideline, madam. Madam, please explain. COPE.
That's just ethical guidelines. It's a committee on publication ethics. So if you click on this hyperlink here, it will give you all the information. So, there are a lot of ethical policies, like, you can't take somebody else's work. How do you use your own self-plagiarism? So there is a lot of this thing. On COPE, you can just read up on the net. Since it's not my product, I'm not authorized to train on it. I can only show you the link. But you have to make sure, like, you're entering the name of the co-authors, you're giving due credit to the articles you've referred, you're giving the citation information, etc.
Okay. Any other questions from any participant? Okay. How much time does it take generally from the process of submission to publication?
Again,
In OUP journal.
each journal is different. The editorial board has their rules. So you will have to check the author guidelines. Each journal will have its own rules. Like I showed you here.
Excuse me, may I ask the follow-up question about this, because this was just sent by me.
Okay, ask.
Yeah, thank you. And actually, I understand that there is the different criteria of each channels. Yeah, but sometimes because I remember that sometimes I try to apply and also to go through all the submission guidelines. And however, it didn't or does not show about the duration or the time to take. Yeah, and according to the previous experience, sometimes it may take about maybe half a years or longer or shorter. But in general, if under the OUP, I know the range is very big. Yeah, in the academic situation. But from your personal experience, how much time that you think which is okay or reasonable? And the second part is about if, for example, I applied because I have the experience in the past, but eventually I got the acceptance from that particular journals, and I asked for about almost 6 months. Yeah, so in some situation, for example, like if I apply and there is no response, and can I first of all to send an email say that, oh, actually I want to apply another one, and then I stop the application now. Yeah, because I know sometimes we cannot do the concurrent submissions based on the ethics. Yeah. So this is the reason why I asked this question. Yeah, I understand that there is different situation. Yeah. Thank you,
Yeah,
Madam.
I know, but the thing is, see, this is here. Every author guideline will tell you, this journal is telling you this, that after proof submission to the first decision, it is already telling you how long it takes. If it doesn't take, see, once it has gone for peer review, you will have to communicate with the editorial team, the team of the journal. OUP then has nothing to do. It comes to us only after it has been peer reviewed. After which there is a timeline when you receive an email saying that your article has been accepted and please choose a license to publish. And this is the DOI of your article, because your article will be given a DOI then. So you will receive that information, and that is when they will tell you that it'll take as long as this time.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, Billy.
Thank you.
I think another last question is that if impact factor increases suddenly, does it mean it's a predatory journal?
No, we don't have any predatory journal in OUP, but if you want to check if it's a predatory journal, I've told you to check the Beals list. I'll type that again, PEALLS. They maintain a list of all the journals that are blacklisted. Any more questions?
I think no more question is there. So thank you. I shall share my screen, madam, first, and then we will take a photograph together.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sumita. It's wonderful talk.
Thank
Thank you,
you. I'm
madam.
not a doctor.
Kindly accept our certificate of appreciation for your valuable time and sharing your experience and in our Lincoln University College platform. Thank you once again, madam. Kindly accept.
Thank you so much, sir. I'd be very happy if you could drop in an email with the certificate.
Sure, madam. Sure. I shall do.
And one more thing I wanted to ask, would you please share the attendance list with me?
Yes, madam. Sure. So I request all of the participants kindly on camera so that we can take print screen. Okay. I can see only one screen.